Hello and a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us with another episode of Speakspire with Sajee, where your story becomes the spark that inspires the world. We are coming to you live with FinTV Los Angeles, and you can tune in to us via channel 31.7 if you are here in Los Angeles, or you can also watch us on LG, Apple, Samsung, Sony, Amazon, Roku, and Hulu. We are delighted to come to you today from Walter J. Towers. And today we are on to a special segment as we spotlight Dr. Yasantha Rajakarunanayake, a trailblazer whose story reads like a blueprint for turning humble roots into global innovation. Dr. Yasantha is an AI scientist, a seasoned technologist and innovator with over 130 patents. Doctor is a prominent Sri Lankan engineer and researcher who was once described as the smartest guy at Princeton by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. A warm welcome to you to our studio, Dr. Yasantha.
Thank you, Sajee. I'm so honored to be here at FinTV to give this speech here to inspire the young folks in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
We are indeed delighted to have you here, Doctor. And so let's start from the beginning. You were born in Sri Lanka and you grew up in Ratmalana. I remember listening to some of your stories, and I was quite fascinated to hear how you were talking about your parents. And you mentioned that they are both well educated and they had a great influence in your childhood. So let's start from there.
Yeah, indeed, Sajee. So I grew up in Sri Lanka, in the suburb of Colombo, in Ratmalana. I was born in the 60s, and so my mother was a school teacher, but she became a vice principal of a school in Dehiwala, and then my dad was an accountant.
I see.
So they were, fairly upper middle class, and so they basically gave me my foundation. I remember when I was young, both my mother and father had read some books that how to bring up children.
Okay.
So I started drawing on the wall when I was young, when I was 3 years old, and so both my mom and dad argued that they shouldn't punish me, they should encourage me because I'm expressing my creativity, with drawing, scribbling on the house walls, right?
Yes.
And so they got scolded by all my other relatives saying, you guys don't know how to bring up your children. Look at them, they're drawing everything and making a mess of the house. But then my dad is saying, well, we should not stifle creativity of your children.
Right.
So me and my sister both had a great time scribbling all over the walls.
So basically, growing up, you had your freedom.
Exactly.
As a child, you were free to express yourself.
To express my creativity, I think. And I absolutely appreciate that. And I think early childhood development of your brain is super important.
It's very important,
I think,
exactly.
So I think I'm so thankful to my mother and father for not punishing me for messing up the house.
Right, and it gives a big value. I think it adds on a huge value because nowadays, sometimes parents tend to stop you from, stop the kids, from doing what they are freely doing, right?
That's right.
So this itself, we have a legend here, and I think your parents were totally instrumental in bringing you.
Absolutely. They were both very smart, and they brought me up in a good way, gave me all the opportunity that I could have. My dad started me playing the violin from 6 years old, so we didn't have a whole lot of money, but they allocated it. So it reminds me of American parents now, they're taking the kids to piano lesson, and so we had all kind of 10 different things to do, like elocution and violin, and I even did some Candian dancing.
Oh, wow, okay. Quite the talent there.
Exactly. So. I don't have the talent, but my parents wanted to see what I was good at.
Right.
So So I think I first and foremost very humbly appreciate my parents who did their best for me.
Right.
And I am any success I have is definitely
Owing to
due
them.
to do both. Yeah, my mother taught me to be academic. I think she encouraged me, check my multiplication tables and things like that.
Right.
My dad taught me the street smarts.
Right.
So
Giving
I think
you all
we need
the
both
freedom
of them. Yeah,
and- right.
exactly. So how to think out of the box.
Right.
So I've been very fortunate.
Which
that,
contributed to where you are today,
exactly.
right?
So I would say for the Sri Lankan parents and to the kids there that, both are important, both academics as well as some of these street smarts,
Right.
I would say.
Balancing them out.
Yeah. So that's where that's my origin.
Right. And I know from your early childhood, you had a keen interest towards mathematics.
Okay.
So, and also in Sri Lanka, especially growing up in Sri Lanka and attending school over there, not every kid is so, into mathematics. So, as someone that had a great knowledge in mathematics and especially a skill towards it, as well as being very interested in it, how was it during your school days for you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So mathematics was kind of second nature to me, I think. But I also, I think one of the reasons how I became smart, I think is something that I can share with everybody. I was an asthmatic, so I had asthma, very bad asthma, because in Sri Lanka those days we didn't know how to control asthma. There was dust and smoke and cigarettes and things like that would give me a huge asthma attack all the time, and there was no inhaler or anything like that at that time.
Right.
You had to go to the doctor to get an inhaler.
Right.
Puff. We used to have, it's called albuterol, the medicine for asthma. Uh-huh. So we used to have a little pill. So it takes about half an hour for it to kick in. So during this time I'm suffering, and so I learned so I can't sleep on my bed. So I would get up, turn the lights on in the middle of the night, and then try to concentrate on something. So basically what I did is took the hardest book that I could find, even if I couldn't understand it, I would concentrate on it, and shut the world out, basically. So I developed the power of focus, basically, from very young age. Yeah, as a kid, because of my asthma, really.
Right.
And as a result, I can shut out pretty much anything and just focus on what I want.
Right.
And that training came through as a blessing, because I was sick.
Right.
And I trained my mind to do that.
Right.
And so thank God for that.
Which is simply amazing.
Yeah, again, so it's another thing where, sometimes you may have it's not a handicap, but, if you have asthma, that can be your, it can be a superpower.
Right,
really.
right. You don't have to always think of it as a burden, right?
Yeah, and actually, if you know about it, some of the biggest, not heroes, famous people in the world, like Augustus Caesar, for instance, was a sick guy. Basically, he was a sick boy.
Yeah.
But he became the emperor of Rome and became very powerful, right? So again, even if you have these little problems when you're young, they don't really matter. I think if you can
you can
conquer
always
that,
turn them around.
That's right. Yeah, so that's a good lesson for all of us, I think. So I was very fortunate. I used to go to answer how I got good at math. I used to go to the British Council because my parents used to send me to a place called the British Council those days.
Right.
It's a library, I think it was probably there from the 1950s, probably from the independence time. Mm-hmm. And so, to get good in English, they would go and borrow a book and read it and bring it back.
Right.
So I used to go and I didn't want to learn too much English, so I got some maths books from the British Council. So that's how I
excelled in maths during your school days.
These are and there was no, I didn't know whether it was grade 10 level or grade 12 level or whatever, so I just picked these books.
Okay.
And turns out that these books were like fairly advanced books.
Right.
And I was
and
reading
it was
them
very helpful.
yeah, right. I was trying to understand the logic of the books when I was in 7th grade, but it turns out that they're like teaching you calculus.
Oh, wow.
So I learned calculus when I was 12 years old.
Right. I'm sure
without
you were
knowing
able
that
to
it was,
teach your, the masters in
right.
school.
Yeah. And also, I want to acknowledge, actually, before I do anything, I must thank the Sri Lanka Foundation and inviting me here to do this inspirational discussion with you.
Right. You're welcome.
And I think FinTV as well. And I hope the mission, I really do believe in the mission of being able to inspire the Sri Lankans all over the world. We have about 3 million, I think, Sri Lankans outside of Sri Lanka.
Right.
Now, in the diaspora, both Sinhalese and Tamil.
Right.
And I think it's a really nice thing to have this sort of TV that can reach
out to the communities.
Yeah, to the culture,
Yes.
and propagate our culture. So
Right.
this is great, yeah. So let me get back again, if you don't mind, to my maths and book story, how I became a geek. So basically, I remember in grade 9, we had a thing called the NCGE, because I was in this, it was not A-level, but it was a different education system. They tried a new system in the 70s, in Empera, I think. And so maybe, yeah. So so grade 9, I had to do a test, like a O-levels test.
Okay.
So I was actually good at my work, and so I was making a lot of trouble in class. And so this teacher of mine, actually Mr. Senadira, his son is here, he's Yasantha Senadira.
Okay.
So his dad.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He was my
It's a small world after all.
Yes. So his father was my science teacher, and I still remember. He said, so he pulled me out because I was disturbing all the other kids, and I was making a ruckus during his classroom. He said, I still remember what he told me. He said, Yasantha, you're going to pass, but you're going to make all these guys fail the test. And because he thought that I can pass, so that's why, so.
You were smart,
yeah,
he could
exactly.
see that.
But then he made me have this guilt that
Right.
I'm going to make all these other friends of mine, fail the O-level, basically. And then he did something really remarkable, and he said, I'm going to challenge you. And then he wrote down the name of a book.
Okay.
And he said, go get this book if you're bored. And so basically it turned out that that's a chemistry book. He was my science teacher.
Right.
We studied in Sinhala, so there was not that many chemistry books in Sinhala. There's only a few, right? But there was one really key book which is called, from Linus Pauling, he's a Nobel laureate, from Caltech actually.
Okay.
So he had written a college chemistry book, but it's like one of the best books. And he said, if you're smart, read this and show me that, And so I was in 9th grade.
Right.
So then I brought this to my father. My dad at that time I think he was between jobs, so he didn't have a heck of a lot of money. He was giving English tuition to rich people, basically. Like rich Mudalalis and things like that. So, that was his temporary job, because he was between jobs, right?
Right.
So, anyway, he was making only like 150 rupees, maybe 200 rupees, but at that time it was reasonable amount of money. But the book was 60 rupees. But he when I gave the name of the book, and he went and he bought it. It was 60. It was 1/3 of his monthly salary.
Right.
And it was not even a required book.
Right.
So I thank again my parents for
always being there
for me, because I don't think I would spend 1/3 of my salary on a book for my kids.
Right.
Right. I mean it's a lot of money,
right.
Relatively. So with that book, I got to know about Pasadena and Caltech.
Right.
Again, and eventually I ended up in that school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, everything that you dreamt of,
Yes.
at some point in your life, you were able to touch it, make it
Exactly.
a reality.
Right.
All because of your hard work, of course.
Yeah. Persistence and curiosity.
Right.
Those are the two things I think that propelled me.
Paved way for you to get here.
That's right. So, so that's sort of my story there.
Right.
How,
so that's quite interesting. And then it takes us back to where, as a proud scholar, you attended one of the most prestigious universities here in USA, Princeton. And not only that, you said this was your dream. Right. You read Albert Einstein, and you were so fascinated that you wanted to. I don't think you ever thought you would get to Princeton.
No, I never thought that. Yeah. So again,
I'd like to actually go back in history and ask you this question. I don't know. I'm sure you would remember because it's like, not something that happens all the time in your life. So the moment that it was announced that you'll be going to Princeton, what were you feeling? What was young Yasantha feeling at that time?
That's a great question. So let me start with the story. So I got to read about Albert Einstein from the British Council again. And it was a weird book, actually. They didn't have rockets those days, so during Albert Einstein's time. So he wrote a book called Special Relativity, which is his main thing, where he got a Nobel Prize. And so he was talking about an Einstein train. And I was wondering, what is this thing? He goes at speed of light, and then he was telling how the train is going to get shrunk.
Right.
And the time dilation, and basically that if you go close to speed of light, then you would not age. So this fascinated me. I was probably 8th grade during this time. So that's how I got to know about Einstein, again through reading, just random reading, without my father or mother wouldn't know any of these things.
Right.
No one in school even, right? But so I was super excited to learn all this stuff, and then turns out that when I finished my A-level, I got 4 A's, and I got the highest score in Sri Lanka.
Wow.
And I absolutely got like this Mahapola and everything to go to the University of Moratuwa.
Okay.
And I had one of the highest scores and everything. And so my mother said, Buddha, why do you want to go? Why don't you finish? You got into the university. This is a dream. Why do you want to go to America? Sri Lanka is good.
Right.
And at that time, my dad was working in the Middle East. So then we had to write an aerogram to him and ask him, shall I go to America, or shall I do my finish up in Sri Lanka and then go for postgraduate, right? Because my mother didn't want to send me. But my dad said, no, you got to go. Because at that time, no one was going to America. They were all going to England.
Okay.
That was the thing to do in the 70s,
Right.
I think the British system was ingrained, and the Commonwealth and everything
Right.
at that time. So, but my dad was again a visionary. He said, no, America is going to be number one. You should go to America. Forget about Sri Lankan University. So I took that risk, actually, because I gave up the university that I got into.
Right.
And I applied to Princeton. I remember, again, I told you, we were middle class, but then this American financial aid form came to me.
Okay.
Where at that time, now the Princeton education is like $70,000 US a year. Right. Probably more than that even per year. But at the time, I remember it's $15,000 US dollars. So then I was worried. Now, I tried to fill this up, I asked my mother, what are our assets? So then she said, we have a house, we have a car. So I added up all that stuff and I wrote it down, and it came to like $10,000 or $10,000, not even that. So then I'm thinking, how can I go to Princeton? We don't have money, right? But I still told them, hey, I'm a poor guy from Sri Lanka, but give me a chance. And I'm so glad that there was some foundation out here that was willing to take a foreign student with some talent,
Okay.
and give the opportunity of education, right? So I
Right.
got a full scholarship.
Right.
I did have to work a little bit, do work study and work for minimum wage, washing dishes actually.
Right.
So I did that.
I mean, you have to
Yes.
start somewhere.
Yeah, in America
right?
you do
So-
that anyway.
Right.
College kids do that.
Yeah.
But I was again handpicked to be very lucky.
Right.
And so I went to Princeton, and after that I was able to do what I wanted to do, and that's where I met Mr.
Right.
Bezos.
So yeah, fast forward into your Princeton days, it's a very public information that you were classmates
Yeah.
and dorm mates with Jeff Bezos,
Right.
the CEO of Amazon.
I was a really good student, as I pointed out already. I got A pluses on almost everything. I was in the honors physics track, which starts out with 100 students, and by the time you get to quantum mechanics, it's like 30. So I'm in quantum mechanics. I think this is like junior year, and I've also been taking a bunch of computer science classes and electrical engineering classes, which I'm also enjoying. And I can't solve this partial differential equation. It's really, really hard. And I've been studying with my roommate, Joe, who also is really good at math. And the two of us worked on this one homework problem for 3 hours and got nowhere. And we finally said, we looked up at each other over the table at the same moment. We said, Yasantha. Because Yasantha was the smartest guy at Princeton. And we went to Yasantha's room, and he was Sri Lankan. And in the Facebook, which was an actual paper book at that time, his name was 3 lines long, because I guess in Sri Lanka, when you do something good for the king, they give you an extra syllable on your name. And so he had a super long last name, the most humble, wonderful guy. And we show him this problem. And he looks at it, he stares at it for a while, and he says, cosine. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, that's the answer. And I'm like, that's the answer? And he's like, yeah, let me show you. So he brings us into his room. He sits us down. He writes out 3 pages of detailed algebra. Everything crosses out, and the answer is cosine. And I said, listen, Yasantha, did you just do that in your head? And he said, no, that would be impossible. 3 years ago, I solved a very similar problem, and I was able to map this problem onto that problem, and then it was immediately obvious that the answer was cosine. And that was an important moment for me, because that was the very moment when I realized I was never going to be a great theoretical physicist.
So what is that story then?
Yeah, so that is a fascinating story, because so when I first came to America, I was still Sri Lankan, 100% Sri Lankan. I even wore a sarma for the in the night.
Right.
Not a pajama. I actually bought a pajama, but I didn't like it.
Right.
So we just bought it because you're going to America, and we put it in the suitcase.
Okay.
But,
you were still Sri Lankan, right?
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So because in Sri Lanka, after school we come and bike around a little bit, and then there's normal Sri Lankan people, right?
You want to feel cozy.
Yeah. So I didn't know. So I was wearing this sarma and in my dorm, in my room actually, not outside. And then so Jeff Bezos one time comes, and then I'm in my sarong also. It doesn't matter. I open the door, and then he comes in and says, Yasantha, I got this problem, maths problem. We've been struggling, and then another friend of mine had told, maybe Yasantha might know the answer to this question. Because Jeff Bezos he wants to be a perfectionist. He wants to get the highest grade.
Right.
He's not like me. I like to learn.
Right.
But he likes to get the
highest
best grades.
Be the best.
Yeah. So that's his motivation.
Right.
So he doesn't want to turn in the homework set without completing it, because then he won't get an A, or someone else might beat him.
Right.
So he's competitive, right? So anyway, I always taught people. There's no competition or anything.
Right.
Because my father used to always say that if you want to learn something, you start teaching that
right.
to somebody. So even in Sri Lanka, even during A-level time, I used to teach.
Right.
If I know how to do something, then I would try to teach that. And when they ask questions,
It
then I
enhances,
even
right,
think
your
even,
knowledge
yeah,
too.
Exactly. So remember, always teach.
Teach.
Okay, it's well worth, even to your competitors, you teach them.
Right, spreading your knowledge is key,
because that
right?
reinforces your brain to,
Right.
and it reinforces your knowledge, right?
Right.
So, so Jeff comes, at that time he was not rich at all. In fact, he came from a very humble beginning. His mother had him when she was 17, before, as a teenager. And she had to go to college, and his grandfather is the one who brought him up. So he was very, I wouldn't say poor, but he was. It's his story, right?
Okay.
It's more inspiring than my story because I
Right.
had parents who cared for me. He had only his mother, right?
To care for him.
Yeah, and her father was not there, right?
Right.
His natural father. Then later he had his stepfather. So again, he too came up to where he is now becoming one of the most well-known billionaires of the world.
Right.
But at that time, he and I were equal.
Right.
We were,
Which is
right?
also
Yeah.
quite interesting is he brought you up
Yeah.
in a recent conversation.
Exactly.
After
Right.
several decades of you two being together, he was talking about you, even
I
mentioning
had
your
completely
name.
forgotten that I told him how to solve this maths problem. So I looked at his problem, and he describes that on all over YouTube, basically that I solved the problem in a few minutes.
Right.
Where he took a long time. And so then he thought, whoa, this guy can do this thing so fast, I better switch my field.
Right.
Because remember, I said he's competitive, right? He looks at his competition and he wants to
Be the best.
Be the best. So he
Right.
picked something else. He didn't want to do the theoretical physics part
Right.
or maths that I was doing.
Right.
So, but then he remembered that that's the moment where he decided that he's going to do business rather than science.
Right.
And so I'm
Choosing the field
in a
that works
dubious
for you.
way influenced him to get out of doing physics and maths and do business basically,
Right.
and join Wall Street and make lots of money. And he's done well for that.
Yeah, he has excelled in
Right?
that field.
Yes.
Right?
I think so. He remembered that. I did not remember that story
Right.
until he recounted that on World Economic Forum
Right.
with David Rubenstein in 2017, and all of a sudden, I had just joined Twitter at that time. It was a new thing. In 2017.
How was social media firing at you afterwards?
Yeah, so I got like hundreds of things. Yasantha, are you Jeff Bezos, Yasantha? That's what people would, because Twitter, you can't write a
Right.
big thing. You have
Right.
to write a small thing. I don't know, what is happening here? And my phone was going crazy.
Okay.
And then next day only I figured out that, Jeff had spoken about a guy named Yasantha from Sri Lanka.
Okay.
And so instantly I became a celebrity of Sri Lankans.
Right.
So it was quite a story because, and basically all the people, including Indians and all the Asians.
Right.
So I have like a huge following of Twitter because of
Fans
that.
right now.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have like.
And it's quite admirable, that
Right.
he mentioned you.
Yeah,
he spoke
yeah,
about you.
exactly.
And
So
he has not forgotten his roots. I mean,
Right,
just like
absolutely. So
something
I
that's-
think that shows humility. He didn't have to give me any credit.
Right.
He was at that time the richest guy. Elon Musk had not come up yet.
Right.
He had he made $100 billion in 2017. So everybody wanted to interview him. And so he's made me part of his autobiography.
Right.
And so I even got an opportunity to wish him for his 60th birthday.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, so his wife sent a media team to take a 2-minute video.
Right.
Where I gave
You
him
got to
some,
give a personal message.
yeah, personal message and wish him and give him a real message.
Right.
So I'm so glad that I think that with Jeff, I think what I want to emphasize is that these friendships, or what you do in life matter. People will remember them 35, 40 years later.
Exactly.
And it was a positive thing. I had moved on, and I had married my wife, and I had kids and done my own life.
Right.
And I had forgotten about Jeff Bezos completely.
Right.
But then he didn't.
But the way
he
you
remembered
touched
yeah,
his life, he
yes.
still remembers. So that's what's
Exactly.
quite important.
So I
right?
think, and I helped him in his hour of need. I think that
Correct.
is why he remembers me.
Right.
So remember to help others.
Be there for people.
Exactly.
Right.
There
Help
you go.
when help is needed.
Right.
And Dr. Yasantha, I was quite fascinated to hear that you were a part of the first team that actually developed Wi-Fi. So for our young viewers and for everyone that's listening to us from everywhere, I would like to know a little bit about that, how you got started on that project.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I would say that's one of the things that I had done in my 30 years of career, both in academia and in industry. For the first part, after my PhD from Caltech, I joined a university as an assistant professor.
Right.
But then later, I married my wife from California, from Los Angeles. So I was in Ohio doing research in the Ohio University. And so she didn't like Ohio, and neither did I. So we wanted to come back to California. So I was fortunate to go to apply for some jobs in the Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And so at that time, I was qualified in applied physics, and that's where you apply mathematics and physics together.
Right.
To make new things. And so the big thing those days was it was Algo's internet, basically, the
Right.
information superhighway is what he called it.
Right.
So there's a thing called cable modems, and so I was one of the first guys to do cable modems.
Okay.
Then I basically developed a lot of the high-speed internet in the early 90s for several companies, including a startup. And so the way I'm just explaining how I got into Wi-Fi, right? I think what's interesting is that every 5 years I've changed my career, pretty much done something completely new. So I was doing cable modems, which is bringing the internet through cable modems, and then there's a thing called DSL, if you know, that's how to do high-speed internet through the telephone wires. Then I did satellite, like these TV stations here, how to do digital television, and that was 2005. Then by 2010, I switched to Wi-Fi, because every technology kind of changes every 5 years. In America, the hottest technology changes,
Right.
and now it's AI, obviously.
Right.
So after Wi-Fi, I started doing AI from
AI.
2015 now for the last 10 years. So the message I want to tell people is that you don't get stagnant in the thing. Always be curious and apply your skills and be able to adapt, basically, right? So if your field is kind of shrinking and going down, don't stick to that, just look for something else. So I have been able to do that almost 4 or 5 times now, and I've been, again, very fortunate. But the message I'm trying to tell you is that you cannot, when you learn something in college, say you're 25 years old, there's no guarantee that job is going to be there when you're 50 years old. Okay?
Right. And Dr. Yasantha, I think that was one quite fascinating factor that I learned about you as well.
Right.
That you keep switching your field, because
Right.
that gives you more exposure,
Yeah.
you learn new things, you
Right.
enhance your knowledge.
Yeah. So for knowledge, I think there are 2 kinds of paths one can follow. So one is to stick to one thing, and it's like a high priesthood.
Right.
Basically, you become a small priest, and then you become a big priest, and become a bishop and a cardinal, right? That's
Right.
one way to
Climb the ladder.
you get senior in your own thing.
Right.
The other, I'm more like a lawyer. Basically, take a look at this thing for 5 years, do what I can do, blitz
Right.
through that, and then switch that and go to another
Venture on to something.
another thing and do really well in that thing,
Right.
So it's sort of like taking a new case almost, and it's a new adventure.
Right.
So then again, it's very refreshing for your mind, because when you do that, then you actually don't become high priest of something, but what it does for you is that because you're looking at it from different fields,
Right.
then you can invent a lot of creative things, and that's how I got all my patents. Because something that's well known in one field is not that well known in another field, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, coming from Princeton to Silicon Valley, I know you have over 130 plus patents that you have got under your belt right now. And if we talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So patents were basically, actually it just happens that I did a lot of patents because in America, it's a very litigious society. So basically the way intellectual property works is that companies own intellectual property, and when you work for a company, like Wi-Fi, then when you invent something, then they don't want other companies to use it right away, right?
Right.
That's very common in pharmaceuticals and medicine, They would patent certain inventions, right? Now, I don't think that's the best thing for humanity. There's, like, if you look at the world 100 years ago, when the physicists were discovering quantum mechanics,
right,
or the atom, then all the European scientists collaborated. There was no patents, basically. One guy said there's a proton, and then another guy said there's a nucleus, there's an electron, and so all of humanity collaborated.
right.
But over the last 100 years, I think the world has gone into these patent silos,
Right.
basically, and we don't share. Even now, I think that's a problem with it's sort of my opinion. I'm not answering your question directly, but like Google and OpenAI and Microsoft are all competing to make AI.
Right.
But it's better if we can all collaborate as humanity and then have a goal of
Putting out
improving the
some
knowledge, right?
Right.
Here we have Tesla competing with some other, OpenAI and Grok and I don't know, Claude,
Right.
and if
There's so much going on out there.
Right. So I think that's something that we are missing because of this sort of capitalistic system here.
Right.
It didn't used to be that way. People were more collaborative 100 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I was very lucky to do these patents because I was in the forefront of a new field,
I see.
and so intellectual property is like whenever the way to explain what a patent is like, let's say you spend a lot of money and dig in the backyard of your house,
Right.
and you discover oil. So now you spend a lot of money, but your neighbor can just copy it because he also knows that it's right next to your house.
Right.
So if he digs, he's probably going to find oil also, right?
Right.
So it's a way to protect that effort that you put in, right? That's what a patent is to if you spend a lot of energy and time, and then you should get some benefit. Other people should not be able to copy it just in a very obvious way. Right? At least pay you some royalty. So that's how the system is set up.
Right,
So
exactly. So now, Doctor, speaking of patents, and now we are in a world where AI has taken us, by storm. Currently, everything revolves around AI,
Yes.
and there's a widespread integration into daily life. So it's moving towards more intuitive and a collaborative and more of a responsible application, right? So I think you are the best person to talk to us about AI, being an AI scientist.
Yes.
You have given so many years to the AI world. You've done your research, you've done your work. So if we can, if we can basically share your knowledge on AI with our viewers.
Absolutely. So basically the way to answer this question of what AI is today, AI is the fourth industrial revolution of humanity. The first one was the invention of the steam engine, basically, where in England, 150 years ago, they invented the steam engine to do work, basically, and it offloaded human beings' brawn, basically the muscle power.
Right.
Right? Before that, they had to have horses and stuff like that to do work.
Right.
Right? So that was the early 18th century. After that, the second industrial revolution is the invention of electricity, and that was done by Thomas Edison, where he invented the light bulb, and now there's no more gas lamps. If you go to London those days, it was all gas lamps and everything. Now, electricity allowed us to take the next step.
Right.
That's how you have washing machines and car washers and all that stuff. The third industrial revolution is when the computer was invented in the 1960s and 70s, but it became popular in the 80s, obviously. So that's when, so the electricity helped us get a better life. The computer allowed us to do a little bit of our brain power, into Excel spreadsheets and other things. So the whole world went into that, right? Again, it takes about 30 years for any of these revolutions to really kick in and become part of the normal society, right? So it was from 1980s, but by 2010, now everybody has a laptop and a computer and all that, right?
Right.
So that's the third industrial revolution. So AI is the fourth industrial revolution. And that is where our thinking itself, the white-collar jobs, can be completely offloaded to the computer so that human beings are free of doing muscle work as well as the brain work.
Right.
Right? And it'll take another 30 years. So we are just starting that right now in 2020s.
Right.
So it will keep going, and our society will transform over the next 10, 15 years to be, AI will be very important. Now, that's going to bring a whole series of job displacements and complex societal issues.
Right.
But yeah, so the significance is there. The AI is going to make humans more productive. So we have to deal with what do we do when does everybody get unemployed, right? That's the big question everyone has these days, at least in America, right?
Yeah.
So the
whether
answer,
our jobs will be taken over by AI.
Exactly.
At some
so
point.
I think that's a very fascinating thing. So one of the solutions that I think Bill Gates has suggested that we tax the AI. Basically, if you
overuse it.
If you replace a $100,000 person's career with the AI program, then that person would typically pay 20% taxes. So we should tax the AI 20% of $100,000. So basically, so then the government can collect that money and then at least give it to people to live more comfortably.
Right.
So we will have to go through some very interesting times because of the AI. AI is very useful, but it's very disruptive. If you can see, especially actresses and even, I'm afraid to say, but some of the TV hosts will be gone, basically,
Right, everything
AI,
can be replaced nowadays,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. So I think that's a very interesting time we are living in right now.
Right.
Yeah, but we shouldn't stop doing something because we don't know the answer to that. We should keep on innovating, and basically, it's not the technology that's bad; it's the humans who are trying to use it in a selfish way. I think
Right.
because you can use AI for medicine and curing cancer and a lot of big problems. Solving the environmental crisis. So yeah, so I'm a utopian guy, basically, not a dystopian AI person.
Right,
so
when
I
it
think
comes
this
to
is
AI. Obviously, you've been working in the field.
Yeah, so I'm very optimistic.
Right.
It's just that the humans are not going to be able to adapt maybe in the best way, but they eventually will figure it out. I think that's my personal view.
So speaking of that, I know you have been involved with Sri Lankans, working on different fields. How do you foresee the future of AI in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, I think that's a very good thing for Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka has a very robust, educated youth. They are smart, energetic, and the population is young. So I think during the Aragale time, you could see these people are very, very smart, young generation especially.
Right.
They are on their phones and they're very logical and they're very well read. So I think AI allows them to go to the next level and bypass, because you don't need a large infrastructure for being able to create AI software. Okay,
Right.
because when I was young, we were always thinking about, okay, Sri Lanka is what they call an agricultural society, and then they were trying to do industrialization, and so you need capital for that.
Right.
Okay, we had like a couple of small things like tires and stuff, Kelly tires, and there's a plywood factory and few factories, because it requires a large amount of investment, and we were a poor country.
Right.
And we couldn't do that. But now we have, with software, we can leapfrog that. We don't need to invest a large amount of capital infrastructure.
Right.
You just need a laptop, an iPhone, and iPad, and then you can write some creative apps and things like that, right? So AI even allows you to do even more. So it's a great equalizer. In my opinion, the developing countries can catch up to the more developed countries quite fast. So I think Sri Lanka should capitalize on that, focus on that, and get the workforce in Sri Lanka to be at the forefront of AI, because a lot of that is available freely, because of the open source software movements and things like that.
Right. In fact, today I actually happened to watch this program where youngsters in Sri Lanka, they now have all these resources to use AI and create, innovate, and at the same time to come up with these new inventions. So, Doctor, from your perspective, how can young Sri Lankans tap into tech fields or in the AI field?
Yeah, that's a great question. So even now, Sri Lanka is doing quite well. I think several Sri Lankan companies have AI-related software. However, I think there's a little bit of difference here. The Sri Lankans are focusing on the operations part of AI and sort of quality assurance and testing and things like that. That's what. So Sri Lanka has traditionally got money from American companies, European and even Singaporean companies, where they will give non-essential part of the technology for Sri Lankans to do, right?
Right.
Yeah, they haven't been at the forefront innovating and doing new things that no one has done, right?
Right.
So I think we need to change that mindset a little bit. It's not hard. And I think that starts by creating a set of young entrepreneurs. Our culture is not that entrepreneur-friendly because we are very worried about failing, I think. If I take your money and go and start a company and then people, oh, what a shame, you lost my money, and then you'll be... Basically, you become a social outcast, basically.
Right.
This guy bankrupted the company or whatever, right? That's how Sri Lankans think,
right.
Because they don't like failure, right? They like success, but in America, it's very different. Some of the people try 3 or 4 times, go bankrupt 3 or 4 times,
right.
and then they succeed. I mean, even places like Starbucks.
Right. I think that's an American mindset, right?
Exactly.
They don't give up.
Yeah.
You file bankruptcy, you stand
Exactly.
up.
Sri Lanka, if you file bankruptcy, you're finished.
Right.
Okay. So I think we need to get that cultural mindset so that young people can start companies and fail.
Right.
And society should be more tolerant towards it, because sometimes it's research. Only one idea in 10 ideas work.
Right.
But that one idea can be 100 times bigger, right?
Exactly, because sometimes it's the failure that actually puts you onto a different path.
Exactly.
Or open up new doors for you, right?
So I think that's a message that I think I'd like to leave with all the Sri Lankan diaspora, that be patient with the young entrepreneurs,
Right.
and because and foster them through a ecosystem of help. I think that's very important. That's why American venture capital system is working so well, and because people do put the money and they don't bother with them for like 2-3 years, and all they're looking for is that big home run.
Right.
Right? They don't really, the return on investment that they're thinking is they will put money in 10 different things, and 9 of them would fail, but the one thing that would work will give them 50 times.
Right.
So we need to take, people who have capital need to take that risk for the countries like Sri Lanka to do well in innovation in AI.
Right.
Okay.
So Dr. Yasantha, as we were having this lovely discussion, I recall you saying that you've also invented a lovely board game that has like a Sri Lankan background.
Yes, Sajee, I'm glad you asked that. So this is my hobby, actually. Basically, I took the concept of Sri Lankans, they have this concept of nakat,
Yeah.
Basically, that is, you need to do certain things at a certain time.
Astrological
right?
times.
Yeah. So if you do things at the right time, you get a benefit, and if you don't, then you get a penalty.
Right.
So I simulated that with some pawns and discs, and it's like a Monopoly board, basically. And so these planets go around the board, and so you like to catch these planets when they are powerful, and so it's a very simple simulation of astrology.
Okay.
Right. And also then I also added Buddhism concepts to it. Right. Basically, so if you play a game like Monopoly, what happens is you try to accumulate all the money, and then it gets boring because one person wins.
Right.
So here, after you accumulate some wealth, I made so that you have to do charity and earn these things called enlightenment points. So when you do that, basically the game becomes very interesting because you are doing charity, and your opponents can take your charity and compete with you.
Okay.
So it's more of a collaboration as well as a competition.
Right.
So it mimics real life. And so in my game, you have to win 2 or 3 enlightenment cards for you to win. So it's very unique. Sri Lankan has some concepts of Buddhism, concepts of our astrological type of things. So yeah, please check it out. It's called Vedic. It's on Amazon.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
Thank you.
You better check out Amazon for that.
Right.
And as we head towards the end of our interview today, Doctor, any other words of inspiration you would like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to leave you with a couple of thoughts. So first thing is for the youngsters, basically be very curious. So your compass in life should be curiosity. Just go do something that you don't understand, and just be curious how the world works. I think that's going to take you a long way in life, So the curiosity, you heard, kill the cat, actually it doesn't kill the cat. It actually makes you smarter, right? So that's one. The other is that humility when you are at a height, because a lot of times when you're successful, I think it happens to our politicians a lot, when you're successful, then you only hear your own thoughts and everybody's saying positive things, and then you lose your humility. So don't lose that. Basically, as you gain heights, don't forget your roots. Just like Jeff Bezos, he hasn't forgotten his root, right? Yeah, and the third thing I'd like to say is that purpose over prestige. Basically, in life, we have to, we seek prestige basically through our work as well as other pursuits of our life, but purpose is much more important, I think, so that if you can help people, then you can get up in the morning and work 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, right? So remember, purpose over prestige is sort of the last message that I like to leave with you.
Thank you so much for that electrifying conversation you had with us, Doctor. It was indeed wonderful to have you here in our studio. We came to you from Walter J. Towers with FinTV Los Angeles on Speakspire with Sajee. Doctor has a lot of YouTube videos that you can always check out on YouTube and learn a lot about AI or any other field for that matter. Just Google Dr. Yasantha Rajakarunanayake and you will be able to enhance your knowledge, learn a lot. And we hope to bring more inspiring stories to you, and we hope to see you again with a new segment next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajee.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.